Welcome to the Untitled Film Nerd Project. My name is Philip, and joining me as always is TJ.
Hello.
We are doing our fourth annual 31 Days of Horror, where we watch a different horror movie every single night in October. Today, we are revisiting Night 1. Due to scheduling or personal stuff, we weren't able to do the reviews on the nights we watched the movies. And on Night 1, we did separate movies. I myself watched a movie called Evolution, and TJ, you watched...
The new Stephen King's It.
Awesome. So, let's get to it. We've already discussed it briefly after we both saw it when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
But your thoughts?
I loved it. It was everything I was hoping for. Just the kids totally sold it for me.
Okay, fair.
They looked terrified.
Now, did you read the book?
I want to say yes.
Okay.
FYI to the audience, I have shit memory. So...
He's asked me if I've seen the movie 31 about 31 times.
Yes. So there are some things I recall, some things I don't recall.
Right.
But to go back to what I thought, I also love Pennywise, the new Pennywise.
Mm-hmm.
It is exactly what I said, that it's like Jack Nicholson's The Joker. How do you beat that performance?
Right.
You don't.
Right.
You make it your own. And I think that's exactly what they did.
Okay.
I appreciated how the clown looked both ancient, more of like a Harlequin type style, while at the same time also appearing somewhat alien.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't even mean like extraterrestrial type alien. I mean just alien to your imagination.
Okay.
What else? I also like the fact that it split up.
Yes.
That we got just the children's version right now.
That I will agree on, yes.
Also, with setting it in the 80s, that means that when part 2 comes out, 27 years later, the time frame will be 2017.
Right.
Which I think both helps ground people in identifying more with the 80s and also identifying more with 2017 when the next one comes out. Yeah, just top notch. I've loved it.
Okay, awesome. I also liked it. I wasn't as enamored by it as everyone else. I really hold a candle, and I'm in a minority here. I hold a candle for the miniseries back in 1990. I don't know why. I just felt like the kids, to me, felt like embodiment of the characters they were portraying in the 1990 version. I'm trying not to compare, like you were saying, the Joker thing. I'm trying not to compare Bill Skarsgård to Tim Curry. But I just really liked Tim Curry's performance. Because Tim Curry was more of like, I'm going to fuck with you, and I'm going to be an asshole about it.
I totally agree. I mean,
and
Tim Curry is the embodiment of that 90s miniseries.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if not for him, I may not have liked it as much. I did like how the miniseries was portrayed. I liked the flashbacks. I know you weren't a fan as much. I liked the flashbacks, and then coming back to the present and back to the past and back to the present. That was a cool way to tell each person's story. It made you invested in each person because you got a personal backstory for each one. The acting in the new one was fine. There was no complaints, really. I just didn't think that the characters really embodied the characters as much as the miniseries. And the characters just felt kind of homogenous to me. They kind of ran together. Whereas I could tell you, in my head, this person was this person in my, Jonathan Brandis was the main guy, and Seth Green was the smart-ass guy, et cetera, et cetera. I couldn't do that with this one. So it just felt a little, I don't know, not as distinguishable, to me at least. Bill Skarsgård did a phenomenal job as Pennywise. He
Yes.
really made the role his own. But and I know you really disagree about this, but I think, well, not that he's sexy, but I still think that I can't be scared of, because all I see is Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, and the dude is hot as hell, and he makes a sexy Pennywise. And I can't. It's just my inability to look past it. So I'm kind of like he in the theater, like kind of laughing, like, oh my, like I said when the first clips came out, and it showed like the balloon slowly rising up and showing the face. I'm like, there's fucking Bill Skarsgård's sexy lips. Like, you can't have like sexy clown lips and not expect me to think Pennywise is sexy. So that's that on that. I do agree, though. I'm happy that it was divided in half, because I went into it not knowing that. Because you know me and spoilers, I try to avoid them, even if I know the plot. And so once we got like an hour and a half in, I'm like, okay, part 2 is going to be a completely separate movie, which I mentioned to you that I'm glad we're at least getting a 4.5 to 5 hour complete story out of this book.
Yes.
Which is awesome. And FYI, I have not read the book. It is one of the few Stephen King books I have not read, surprisingly. You were going to say? Sorry.
I was going to say that I don't think you're in the minority. There's going to be a lot of people that still, the 90s one is the definitive edition.
Even reviews I see on YouTube, though, like they talk about how campy it is and how dorky it is, and I don't see it like that. Like, I was so invested. Even the antagonist, like the bully, to me was more effective in the miniseries. And I didn't have CGI rocks being thrown.
Yes.
In the miniseries. That was a huge detract. I'm like, come on. You have a budget. I say it a lot. If you have a budget, use it.
It's like, use foam rocks.
Something. Like, these were clearly, and not obviously why they did it, but still, come on.
Yes. It being split up in 2 movies, I imagine, was a huge something that you definitely appreciated being a surprise.
Because I was complaining before I even went to the theater to see it. I was like, how are they going to stuff what was like a 3-hour
that much story
into like 2 hours, 2.5. I mean, that's going to be rough. And they're not, so thank God.
One of the other things that I liked, I definitely liked about it, and this doesn't even say so much as about the movie, but the success that it had.
Oh, yeah, it did phenomenal business.
And given how much and how well it did, it means that we finally have a future for R-rated horror movies again.
Ones that are also marketed well. The marketing was really well done. Whoever they hired to do the marketing deserves a raise. Because there was also a few videos on YouTube as well about the marketing genius of this movie. And it really was.
They did not want this to fail.
No.
And they were smart to put that type of marketing, type of money into the marketing.
And this is what happens when you put time and love and effort into something, and you market it well, and you don't rush it. We don't get unnecessary remakes of Friday the 13th or unnecessary remakes of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah,
we get awesome retellings of, an awesome, that I thought in the 90s was an awesome story in it. We get an awesome version now that, easily stands on its own.
We get a movie made for story, not a movie made to make money.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I also enjoyed it. I wasn't as I said, I wasn't as in love with it as everyone else was, but I did not regret seeing it, and I cannot wait for part 2.
Indeed. So tell me about your movie.
Well, my movie is called Evolution. It is a movie, as you know, I've been wanting to see for a while now, like a good year at least, and it finally showed up on Netflix. It's interesting. The gist is, because I know you don't mind spoilers as much as I do.
Yeah. Spoil away.
This is one, like, I was going to end this by saying I wouldn't recommend you watch this, So we'll just get that out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were already pretty tepid about it, which is one of the reasons I watched it.
Yeah.
And this watching it didn't I wasn't like TJ needs to see this movie.
Yeah.
The gist is this boy named Thomas, who I'm thinking is around 10 or 11, is on an island, like this rocky island. And in the beginning, he is swimming, and he finds in the water the body of a dead boy with a starfish on his belly button. And so he goes to find his mom. And then this is when you start realizing something's up, because the only people on the island are like 7 to 10 boys, all the same age, and women that correspond to the boys, like grown women.
Uh-huh.
And that's it. There's no adult men. There's no little girls. Just the boys and the adult women.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then the mother goes into the water, says the body's not, there's no one there. You're making things up. Turns out that, he wasn't lying. There was a body there. And it's strange. It's hard to describe without just sounding like batshit. Because there's experiments going on, and major spoilers here. If you haven't seen Evolution, stop listening now, because if you're into like weird, quirky horror where not a lot happens, as far as how can I put it? Like some movies go at like a really fast pace. This was slow, and I think that's why you wouldn't like it. It went really slow. Not a lot happened. It doesn't explain anything. And then the movie just kind of ends with this like scene, and it's open to interpretation. But the gist is, again, and this is major spoilers, the boys are being experimented on. They're being, before they go to bed, they're given like this purpley liquid to drink, like 4 drops of it. And then they go to this like hospital. And I said in my written review that, you know how in Silent Hill, when the sirens blare and Silent Hill starts turning into Silent Hill?
Yes.
I said in my review that this was like if Silent Hill was starting to turn into Silent Hill, and it stopped at like 15%. It was like run down, but not like horribly run down.
Uh-huh.
But you tell it wasn't like kept up. It didn't look new at all. Water was leaking in the walls and stuff. Well, huge spoiler coming. Main spoiler coming. The boys are taken into like this hospital area, this really rundown Silent Hill at 15% looking hospital area, and they're being injected with like this liquid. Well, it turns out they are impregnating the boys.
Interesting.
Yeah, and interlaid throughout the plot are the nurses. There are like nurses, and I believe they're all women. Like I think I think almost everyone's a woman. I think I'm trying to remember now if any of the doctors were men, but I think it was all women. I think, but I could be wrong on that. And they're watching videos on how to do a C-section. Because in order to get the babies out of the little boys, they have to cut them open. Yeah. And there's a scene where the Thomas gives birth, essentially, and there's like these 4 baby things like feeding off of him, and he's in this tank of water where they're submerged in. It's well, during the film, this nurse takes a liking to him. And it's hard. Like the women all have like what look like little suction cup things all down their back, so indicating that they're not quite human. And so the just fast forwarding, the nurse takes Thomas out on this boat. They eventually get to a boat because they swim underwater, and it looks like they're kissing, but he's like breathing through her or something. But they're swimming underwater for a long time because I think she's part sea creature or something. I don't know. They don't explain anything. But she takes him to a boat, puts him in the boat. Then they're sailing in the boat together. She dives back in the water. He's like, "Oh my God, come back!" And he's just kind of floating in the boat for a while, and then the end of the movie is like he wakes up and he's coming to the shore, and there's like just all these industrial factories. And he's floating towards that, and all this noise, like regular noise, like regular, everyday reality noise.
But completely alien to him.
Yeah, exactly. So he's floating towards that. Movie goes to black. Evolution.
Okay.
It was.
Sounds to me like it has kind of a loose H.P. Lovecraft vibe to it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like the deep ones.
Yeah, kind of. It also kind of had that, not in a way, it had kind of a Cure for Wellness, kind of like what's going on, very water-based.
Very nefarious medical organization.
Yeah, exactly. It was weird. It was like, I don't regret watching it, but it's nothing I would ever need to watch again.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's not like I didn't even take a page of notes on it. It was just like I even put here. I said it had a sterilized alien feel, kind of almost like an art school horror movie.
Well, and sometimes when movies like that are so bad shit that you're not taking notes, not because you're loving it, but just because you're so enamored by how fucking weird it is.
And it's weird because like it was so sterile. It was done in such a it just presented it as these are the facts that are happening in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like the score was good, but it wasn't in your face. It wasn't like building to a jump scare. It was just unfolding this really strange Lovecraftian story that just kind of goes where it's going and then ends. And I respected it for what it was. It was a decent night one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was my night one.
Cool.
All right, I think that wraps up our night one. And yeah. So thank you for listening. Until next time, I'm Philip.
And I'm TJ.
And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.